Hey guys, Jonathan was here for JM Sports 100, the JM Sports Show. How is it going? I am here to make an NFL pick for Thursday, September 13th, 2018. It's Thursday. That means it is Thursday Night Football, and we are here to talk about the Thursday night game for Week 2. And it is between the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. That game will take place at 8:20 Eastern Time on the NFL Network here on Thursday. And first of all, before we do that, let's take a look at what we did last week in what was a very weird week. In week 1, that saw us have a record of 9-6-1. Of course, the one being Cleveland and Pittsburgh. And so Cleveland, we'll talk about them when we get to their game, obviously, when we have their video for the rest of the NFL picks. But Cleveland is the only team in the NFL that could break a losing streak by not winning a game. But nonetheless, that's not what we're here to talk about. Like I said, we'll talk about them when we talk about their game in the other two videos that were made for the NFL picks this week. It was a weird week, however, which means doing the video for the picks for week 2 is going to be hopefully a lot of fun. But let's talk about the Ravens and the Bengals here. Both these teams coming in with records of 1-0. The Bengals beat the Colts. The Ravens annihilated the Buffalo Bills as we said they would, and completely probably destroyed anything that would be left of Nathan Peterman's confidence. But let's talk about the Bengals first. You look at this Bengals team, and Andy Dalton played really, really well in that game against Indy. In that game, he went 21 of 28 for 243 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have one pick, but he did play pretty well. Meanwhile, you've got Joe Mixon, who you can tell is so much more comfortable now that the Bengals offensive line was upgraded. He performed really well. He had a total of 149 yards in scrimmage, 95 rushing yards, 54 receiving yards, and a touchdown in the game. So the Bengals offensive line, a big improvement for them. Ultimately, though, the Bengals probably, you look at it, and that's a game that they probably should not have won. Okay, you look at the score of that game, and you're like, well, Cincinnati dominated that game. And no, if you watch some of that game, as I did, Cincinnati really didn't dominate that game. The Colts made mistakes. The Colts let Andrew Luck down, especially with the fumble late in the game there, with the Colts driving as they were. So I'm not saying that the Bengals are bad because they honestly shouldn't have won that game. I do think this is a good Bengals team, but I don't think we should also put too much stock into the fact that they beat the Colts either. Um, and a couple big things with this Bengals team now. Carlos Dunlap, it looks like he should be able to go for Thursday. He did return to practice, but he is a bit banged up. If they do not have him against the Ravens, that could be bad. You've got Sean Williams. It doesn't look like Sean Williams is going to be suspended at this point anyway for his nasty hit on Andrew Luck that got him ejected from the game on Sunday, but that'll be something to keep an eye on as well. Meanwhile, you've got the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Flacco, a lot like Andy Dalton, looked pretty good. This is, of course, a big game for the Ravens. They're going to definitely want some revenge. Last time these two teams met was Week 17 of last season, and the Bengals will get a 31-27 win in that game. That would keep the Baltimore Ravens out of the playoffs and lock the Bills into the playoffs for the first time in quite some time. But Joe Flacco, as Joe Flacco did look good, but the Ravens defense looked good as well. And we said they would. We said in the video last week that the Ravens defense was going to give Nathan Peterman all sorts of problems and they were going to dominate, and boy did they do that. When Nathan Peterman left that game, he had a quarterback rating of 0.0, pass rating of 0.0 when he had left that game. Meanwhile, the defense also only allowed 153 total yards against Buffalo. 6 sacks and 2 picks. So the defense played really, really well. Flacco, 25 of 34, 236 yards, 3 touchdowns. He played well. Now, that was against the Bills, a team that I believe, after watching last week, is the worst team in the NFL. I do believe that. I think they've gone from a playoff team last year with Tyrod Taylor to one of the worst teams in the NFL with Nathan Peterman and Josh Allen. Now, I'm not saying that Josh Allen's going to be a bad quarterback. I think right now it's too early for him to be incredibly successful. So if you're Buffalo, what do? Do you stick with Peterman, who was not great, or do you stick in the quarterback who's not right? Either way, Buffalo definitely going to take some lumps this season. But as far as the Ravens, this Ravens team was really, really good. The Ravens defense, as we said, really good, really dominant against Buffalo. Now, here's the thing: Cincinnati is not Buffalo. The Ravens defense is not going to have quite the luck that they had against Buffalo. Not with AJ Green. If Andy Dalton keeps playing the way he was playing. Andy Dalton played really, really well in Week 17 in that game against the Ravens. Carried it over into Week 1 against the Colts. Played well. If he can keep this streak going, then this is going to be a very competitive game, I believe. And plus, it's an AFC North game. These games are always pretty tight as well. Ultimately, though, in the end, I do think that the Ravens are the better team here. I think they have the better defense, and I think they'll be able to hold Cincinnati at least enough to get a victory. So I do have the Ravens beating the Bengals on Thursday Night Football to kick off Week 2. Okay, so I kind of liked how I did it last week with the whole Part 1, Part 2 as far as the picks go for last week. The 1 o'clocks, or the 1 o'clock slate of games in Part 1, and then the 3 o'clock slate of games through the Monday night games in Part 2. I think I like doing it that way. I think I'll do it that way again this week and see how that goes. So expect that coming probably, hopefully, at some point tomorrow or Friday, the 14th. Those picks should be up. And as far as the college football picks, okay. College football picks are going to go off as they always do. The picks for Thursday and Friday are on the James Sports Show Facebook page and the Facebook page only. So go ahead and check those out if you're interested in that. Saturday college football picks will be right here on YouTube. Don't forget to like the James Sports Show page on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Links as always are down in the description. That is going to do for me. I am Jonathan Mosette for James Sports 100, the JM Sports Show, and I will see you guys later.